Hello, everyone. This is Linda Ferguson.
And Karen Nilsson Bell.
And welcome to another edition of Platinum Prime for Life, your place where Karen and I share our tips and tricks and life hacks and many other things that help us live a Platinum Prime life. So Karen, is the first month of 2026, January, has just gone by. And so I just want to do like a January recap of how our months went, and then we'll ask everybody how their months went too.
I like that idea. You know, we don't necessarily even know when we turn the mic on. We haven't necessarily decided what we're going to talk about. I think that's an interesting way to do a podcast. And I like it better when we don't. I really like it when we don't prep. I like it when you surprise me. This is a good one. I like this. This is good.
Okay. So let me ask you, Karen, how did January really go for you? Be honest.
Really?
Really?
Oh, well, I didn't know you were going to interview me first. Okay. Well, what's a good word for it? Oh, some of it was fabulous. Some of it was not fabulous. And my attention immediately went to what was not fabulous for some reason. It went, oh yeah. Well, I've definitely kept my pledges, the pledges that I made as resolutions and this and that. No problem on that, because I kind of got that down these days. No problem. Because at this point it's to tweak my health, tweak my body shape and size, tweak my super senior status in a way. So that's going well. But just the mechanics of certain other things. One thing, I'll give you a dichotomy.
Okay.
I play music in senior care facilities. They'll either be independent living, where everybody's totally fine. They just choose to live in a place. Assisted living, where they need some help getting around. Skilled nursing, where they really can't manage very well by themselves. And memory care, where they really are, it's a tough scenario. So I have all those. So a week ago, there was a 72-year-old gal, and she brought her baton. This was at a facility that is both independent living and assisted living. So they all have their marbles, but some of them need help getting around. But Cindy was 72, and she brought her baton. She was a champion baton twirler. And she twirled for us. And she twirls every time we go there. And I asked her if I could take a video of her twirling, and I got more views. I asked her if I could put it on Facebook. She said she was happy for me to do that. And I got more views from her twirling her baton at the age of 72 than any other video that I've ever posted.
Oh, wow.
So that was really sweet. That was really sweet. But then,
are you going to take up baton twirling next?
No.
Oh.
I used to be fascinated by it. I would like to have learned how to do it. I learned the technology of how to twirl a baton, but no, I never did. But then there's the opposite end of that spectrum, because when we go to the memory care places, it's a cross between very disheartening in comparison with very uplifting. Like the time we went, and none of them were doing well, but some of them were somewhat connected to us and applauding and this and that. And right towards the end, this man named Thomas, who's in a wheelchair, his head had been on his chin had been on his chest the whole time. And right towards the end, he just stood up out of his wheelchair and started walking toward us, because he wanted to come and tell us that he enjoyed it. It was as if we had the powers to heal the lame. It was because he stood up out of his chair, and everybody in the room went, "Oh no, Thomas is walking." Like they couldn't accept that, Well, thank God the nurses' aides all came running, because he probably would have fallen down, because he hadn't walked for God knows how long. So those things are exciting, but it is discouraging to see what is in store for many people. And I
So let
think,
me ask you a question.
yeah,
You had January, you had an idea of what January was going to be like. Those are the best laid plans, right? We call it that. So, what actually took up most of your time?
I had people in my life whose health took a turn for the worse. And I had plans to finish my book. I did not finish my book. I planned to finish it this week. I did not finish my book because I really wanted to finish that and get it out there because I've been yapping about it for so long.
Mhm.
Just the fact of several people, one person did not make it. And that took up some time because, I was part of the memorial service for that person and creating the music for that person. And I thought to myself, I want to create my own memorial. We're going to hold my memorial before I go. I want to be there. I'm going to take care of the music, the venue, the food, the menu, the dancing boys. I want to hear you talk nice about me. You will talk.
That's good.
You,
But you understand, right? That's decades away. I'm glad you made that decision, but it's
it's
decades
it's
away.
some way
So,
away. But I've already planned on it because it illness, either yours or your loved ones, or even people that are not, maybe you don't see them every day, but they're people who are important to you. Thing about poor health, boy, it just shifts your priorities in the blink of an eye.
sure
In the
does.
blink of an eye. And that
So,
hung up, and yeah, it just, there
so
you
I'm going
go.
to tell you about my January because it went along similar lines. So at the
Really.
beginning of the year, I planned out, just roughly planned out, okay, so this month I'll get this done. And then this next month I'll get this done. And the first quarter is going to look like this, and so on. So January comes along and I get a bunch of announcements from my family, not my husband's family, but my family. Moving, need you out here, yada, yada, yada. Like a lot of changes. And I went, okay, well, then I'll shift here and I'll adjust there. And okay, I got it. It's working now. And then my husband has some retirement changes. He's retiring in a few months. And for him, that's like he's pretty much glued to the day he's going to retire. It's all planned out up to there. And so something shifted on that. So now that becomes a big topic of our life. So we have a well planned out year for me, at least. I have the first 6 months. And then now things are starting to change. And they started changing so rapidly that I almost called a timeout. I was just like, wow. So, like you, when chaos, and my word of the month for January is that it felt very chaotic. I still got stuff done, but it was so much more more slowly than what I planned initially, that I'm having to like readjust everything and make sure everything
Borrow,
still fits.
can I borrow or steal or usurp your word? Because that's, if you had to
Mm.
ask me one word, I, I don't know if I would have thought it up, but that is the perfect word. Chaos.
What does chaotic mean?
Things not aligned.
Around at a pace
Random.
that is right at the edge or exceeding your ability to handle it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I used, a few people asked me how I was doing, and I said, well, I'm on the verge of being overwhelmed. I don't think I'm overwhelmed, but I am overloaded. There is a difference probably because overwhelmed means you can't manage at all. And overloaded is,
pivot,
swim.
pivot, pivot, pivot.
Yeah,
We did a show about pivoting,
we did.
and that's that. Okay. But in amongst all of this chaos that we both managed, and you and I talk, besides just doing the show, we also talk. So we don't necessarily know minute by minute what each other's doing, but the broad brush strokes, yes. And we both had some pivots that went on that we both accommodated well, I thought. But amongst all of that, I know some wins existed. So sometimes the wins, the things that are triumphant that we've achieved, sort of get downplayed because you have incoming coming right at your face and you're like, okay, that was good, but oh, I have to handle this right away. So tell me about one win you had that you almost didn't count last month.
Okay, so the minute that you started that paragraph, I knew you were going to ask me this question.
Okay.
And I want a little more time. You go first.
Okay. So one of the big wins that I had, I'm really focused these days on legacy, on what we create as a legacy. So legacy includes all the things about you, but it includes life lessons that are worth sharing, along with your material wealth and the friends that you've had. Those are all things you've accumulated. So my son, my youngest son, just surprisingly out of the blue, sends a song that was so good. He said the song was entitled Mom. Anyway, it was so good. I was blown away. And I'll actually be sharing it on my page, at Linda Ferguson on Facebook shortly later this week. But anyway, I'm listening to it and suddenly I realized that it's a highly personalized song. I go, "Oh my god, how did he get this really good singer to sing it?" And so at the end, I was laughing and crying. I probably listened to it 10 times. I cried every time. And it just went over things, life lessons that I taught him and the effect it had on him. So it was a, a mommy song. You're a great mom and you've done all these things and you've always been there for me kind of stuff that every mom wants to hear, every friend wants to hear, every wife wants to hear, or husband, just the appreciation for what you've done. And I was thinking to myself, this is a great example of creating a legacy directly with your kids. He's put into words what I hoped he would feel as I was giving him life lessons. So it wasn't a win I almost didn't count, but it was a win for being a mom that I didn't get to count until many years later because you never know if you're doing the right thing or not. I mean, you hope you are and you hope it's arriving with your children, but you don't get to learn until later that it actually has arrived and they're acknowledging it. So that was good.
That's so beautiful. It was very smart of me to have you go first because it really reminded me. I completely forgot what it wasn't just a big win for January. It was a big life win. And it also centered around music. And you were actually there because I wrote a song about the subject of kindness. Kindness comes in all colors. Kindness comes in all creeds. We shall be known on this earth by the kindness of our deeds, And it was called Prayer for Kindness. And it had never been performed by anybody but me. I had performed it on the internet with me singing it as a solo and this and that. And in the middle of it, the choir members would each speak a quote from a leader, a venerable leader that had a quote to say on the subject of kindness. I'd never heard it sung by a choir, and it was so thrilling to me that I cried at the end of the performance. You can't cry when you're performing. You're busy, especially if you're the accompanist and you're following the conductor and you're busy. You don't have time to cry. But at the end of it, I became quite weepy because it was just overwhelming to me to have the response, and the response was really, really.
Huge.
It was huge, and it was overwhelming in the good, in the very good way of overwhelming. And so that was a huge win because it brought to mind it triggered and prompted me to realize that in addition to wanting to help seniors live longer, better, and better longer, that one of my goals on this earth is to be a spearhead for interfaith, intercultural. I've lived all over the world and I've made friends all over the world, and they liked me and I liked them. So I have this pan denominational, pan cultural viewpoint of how things are and how we are more alike than we are different. And so the song and the success that came from it gave me the viewpoint that that is an important piece of my legacy, is to spearhead that concept of
I love
kindness.
it.
And so I just now realize that was a good thing about January, and I should not be unhappy about January. I should never have laughed and told you that it was mostly fantastic because of that.
I love it.
Yeah.
I was there. I was actually part of the choir singing your song,
Yeah.
and it received a standing ovation. And there were several people who were crying, including one other choir member who just couldn't continue. He was just so choked up. So it was fantastic. I loved the result. I loved having people come up afterwards, person after person, and just say how amazing that piece was. So kudos to you, Karen.
Thank you,
That
Linda.
was fantastic.
Yeah, it was life-changing in a way for me because it set me on a path that I had forgotten about. I had been on that path before COVID came. I had written a song called One Heart, and I had this whole plan how it was going to unify the world. And then COVID came and separated the world, and I
Well,
never picked back up again. I think it's time for me to
to
include.
get back on there. Yeah, music can move a nation. And music stays around long after the politicians are gone, long after we leave this earth, music remains. So that's huge. That's a huge win. But I'm going to make a point on wins because in the midst of chaos, there are things that have gone right. There are very often small wins, but you have to acknowledge those because small wins will take you to big wins. If you focus on the chaos, if you focus on what's wrong with everything, it is what you will train yourself to see. So, really be alert for the small wins, make note of them when they happen, and then those can feed you when you need to be fed in the midst of things that are chaotic. So, talking about that sort of a subject, um, there are people in our lives that when we're around them, we feel amazing. There are things that we do that when we do them, big or small, we feel better. And then there are people in our lives that the effect on us may be that we feel drained. We have less energy, food that we eat, less energy, things that we do, less energy. So let me ask you, was there anything you encountered in January that you felt really drained, that like kind of sucked the energy out of you?
I have a business deal going that is a tough one, and it's I've been in real estate for I don't know 30 years or so as an investor, not I'm not a realtor, but I have a deal going, and it's it's not a tough deal. The deal isn't tough. It's just that the friction between the people all doing the deal is hard to manage. And so, yes, the answer, just a big, not to dive into any details of that, but it is, you do feel exhausted at the end of a day of dealing with other people's negative ions.
Just, and not to correct you because you've experienced what you've experienced. But what I find interesting is sometimes people are wonderful, but they're just not your vibe. Their energy is so different from what your energy is that it doesn't work well together. You guys don't work well together.
Possible. Yeah.
And I found that more to be true. I found it in relationships sometimes, definitely business partners. Business partners are like getting married, but it's harder to get a divorce a lot of times.
If you ever want to divorce me, just tell me and that'll be the
You and I work really well together. Anyway,
I've been on a deal with one of my business partners in real estate. I've been on a deal with her since '07, which would make it 19 years we've been on a handshake. We always said we would put it in paper because that's what you're supposed to do, especially in real estate, but we've been on a handshake for 19 years and it's worked out just fine. You and I, we don't have anything on paper that I know. I don't, do we? Maybe
not really.
both. Not
We've
really.
done a variety of things together, but not any one particular, this is the umbrella deal. But here's just something I read this month that really stuck with me. And it was the person was saying, at all costs, I protect my energy. Now, this is a female entrepreneur. She's kind of in the same space I'm in. She does no housework. She never cooks. She never goes shopping. Her husband handles all of that. Never had kids, just does the thing that she does. And she said, I protect my energy at all costs. And so I expanded out on that for me. I went, yeah, well, so there are certain things that I do that, I love cooking. I love cooking for my husband. I hate housework. I could give that up in a moment. There's certain things I love to do. They don't make money. They don't do anything in particular except give me pleasure. And that gives me energy. And then there are other things that I do that don't. Housework being one of them. I mean, quite honestly, I have to do it because I have to do it. But it's worth it to me to not have to deal with it. I just do not have someone in the house, and we've got a particular kind of a house, so I just don't have that happening here, but occasionally we do. Anyhow, food. The right kind of food gives you energy. The wrong kind of food drains your energy. Enough sleep gives you energy. Not enough sleep drains your energy. Certain people give you energy. Other people drain your energy. And we tend to go, that's good or bad. Okay, this thing is good or it's bad. It's not necessarily, if you look at it that way, you may be putting the wrong picture on things, but it's, do you feel energized after doing this particular thing or no? If you're protecting your energy, you would then gracefully, however you handle it, move it somewhere else so it's not sucking energy out of you. All right. So another question for you is, what gave you energy that surprised you that it did?
I was, I'm sorry, I just was shocked by the amount of lift my life got from singing that song. I don't, I just, it really was surprising to me. I mean, the arts have always been the thing that gave me, after my husband passed, the only thing that saved me from being a wadded lump on the floor of my closet was that I would sit at the piano looking out. Fortunately, I had a nice view of the bay, and I would look out at the water and I would play piano and compose music to him. And that was what took me away from the immediate problems of the day. And it still has that power on me. Music still has that power on me. And there's times when, when you have certain negative things going on that you can't extract yourself from. There are those times when that can happen. And so the antidote or the medicine or the drug that I use is music. Music is my drug.
Okay, remember that. So I'm going to give us all some advice, and that is, do pay attention to energy, what adds energy to you and what robs you of energy. Because energy is the early warning system for what is going to be coming down the road. So, especially if you're around someone and you constantly feel negative energy, you feel drained, whatever that is, you need to really look at and isolate. Is it the person? Is it the circumstance? What is it? And then take appropriate action behind that.
I think maybe that is the subject of this podcast. We said that it's a January recap, but what
Yeah.
it really is, the subject really is how to manage the ebb and flow of life, the disappointments.
I'm glad that's your subject. Mine is it's a recap because I'll ask you more questions.
Whatever you say, boss.
Yeah. But we're talking about energy right there. What gave you energy in January? What took it away? And then really just make sure you notice those things. What gave you a win? Notice that. You know, don't get stuck on the chaos. So, because very often the way that a cycle goes is you have a problem, you work through the problem, you get a solution, and hopefully you take notice of what the solution is. And if it's something that you've seen happen before, you take that solution and you somehow integrate it into your life and create a habit. We're always trying to do that, I think. Eat better, how do you eat better? How do you make it easy to eat better? All right. Don't have anything in your house that's bad for you is one thing. But so let me ask you, doesn't have to be anything having to do with food or music or anything else, but a habit that you have that's stuck, that you created in January, if you did, and that you're now repeating because you want to integrate it into your life.
Well, I love desserts, and I've made it a habit over the last almost 8 years now to make healthy for you desserts. But I've found something new that I am making into a habit, and it's making Jell-O from scratch using grass-fed collagen to make the Jell-O, and you make it with your own ingredients so that there's not anything artificial in it, and it's just pure uh, collagen, pure protein, and that's my new dessert, and it makes it really easy, and it has glycine in it, and it helps you sleep better, helps your joints be better. So now my new habit is to have dessert that not only gives me pleasure but is not bad for you, but now it's going to be gives me pleasure but is really, really good for me. That's my new habit.
That sounds good.
It
What a
is
great new habit.
Jell-O. What is the food about Jello?
I'm about to make some gummies, and I'll tell
And
you about that in a minute.
I have
Huh?
a recipe for gummies. I can make gummies too.
Yeah, and you make it out of gelatin, which is good. All right, so that's one of the things I found out. I like gummies. Who even knew? And you can add whatever you want. If you make them yourself, you can put the things that you want to add to your diet or keep in your diet into a gummy and not at all feel bad because you're eating something that has sugar in it because your gummies won't. Okay, and did you have any habits that you were trying out that you went, this is not a good habit for me?
No, I have another one. There are 1,448 minutes in every day. And there's three things that I want people to become habits. The first one is when you're putting on your underwear and you're standing there, to stand on one foot for 30 seconds and then stand on the other foot for 30 seconds, because as seniors go, your balance gets worse. So that's a way to test yourself. If you can do it with your eyes closed, it's even better. Next thing is to hang from, find some place to hang from and do what's called a dead hang for 1 minute. And most people, I mean, when I started, I could only do 10 seconds. I've made it just beyond 1 minute, and do that several times a day. 1 minute. I'm asking you for 1 minute. So now we're up to 2 minutes. What was the third? The third one is, to do a farmer's carry, where you carry something heavy in both hands, supposedly equaling about 75% of your body weight. It's harder than it seems. And so I would like you to give me 3 minutes. And those are habits that I've developed, and I want everybody to develop. Out of 1,448 minutes. I want you to trim it down to 1,445 and give 3 minutes to those things.
Okay. Thank you for your suggestions. I
Yeah, I mean,
don't
you can do it, can't you? You can stand on one leg before you put
Yes,
your
I
foot in
can.
your fingers.
I can do all of those things except maybe the farmer's lift. Haven't tried that one. But,
You can
yeah,
hang.
I can hang for 1 minute.
Are
Yes,
you
I can.
serious? I'm so impressed.
Why?
Well, because so few people can do that. You would be surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, good on you. It's a predictor of longevity.
Um, it is probably one predictor. The other one is the condition of your lungs is a huge predictor of longevity. That's a health show, and we can go into what are some of the predictors of longevity. That would be like, definitely we'll fill it. But we're actually going to move along with this one, which has to do with January, just a monthly recap. And it's actually good to look at things on a monthly basis. So, is there anything in your life that you are trying to simplify rather than make it more complex? So, you want to keep it there. You know that that's good for you, but it's still taking too long to get done and you need to just simplify it?
Yeah, I'm not a good housekeeper. My I and uh, uh, I'm not a good housekeeper. I
Okay.
I I love living in a well-kept house. I do not like a messy house. And in my days of being a multimillionaire, I always had somebody to just make it so, and that was nice. But I'm on my own, I'm not very good at it, and that's what I don't want somebody to have to take care of all my collection of whatever all this is. I mean, what are they going to do with Bear? What's somebody going to come and know to do with Bear? These things have to be. I don't want somebody else to have to make a decision of what to do with Bear, and so kind of cleaning up my act. That's that. It isn't going well, but that was a January thing. That was a pledge, and it will get better in February. So, how about you?
Well, definitely housekeeping is not something that uh, makes me happy. My simplifying, what I'm trying to simplify, and I'm actually doing it, is getting to the thing faster. So my morning routine, I set up like a really good morning routine for me. And part of it included going through my email before I actually get down to the thing, whatever it is I want to focus on for the day. So it's get my cappuccino and my drink and do the, and so there were all these different things that I would get them done, but like the way life often can be is in the middle of those initial steps in the morning, something would come up. Someone would call, there'd be an emergency. My husband needed something, whatever it was that would add time to that morning thing, the thing. And then by the time I got to it in the afternoon, I go low energy right around 4 o'clock. And then I want to wrap and get ready for dinner. So that's kind of how I'm wired. Anyway, so to simplify it, um, it was minimize distractions. And I'm going to show you have this little thing called a Pomodoro. Do you know what that is? Pomodoro?
I thought I did, but maybe I don't.
Pomodoro is a time management system that it means tomato, Spanish tomato, the word Pomodoro. And it's working in increments of 25 minutes because 25-minute increments with 5 to 10 minute break in between those has been proven scientifically that you can have really intense focus for 25 minutes. And then it's really good to take your foot off the brain gas and let your body kind of chill out, walk around, look outside, do things, and then come back and do it again. So the system's called Pomodoro, and you figure, okay, I've got this task ahead of me, and it will take me 3 Pomodoros, or roughly an hour and a half, to do. And it's 2 short breaks and then 1 long break. And I have been doing it on my computer. Ready again.
I don't know what to do besides that. Okay. Pomodoro.
So I have an app on my computer. It's just a little screen. And when I started, it starts a 25-minute timer. And when I went the other day to get that started, I got your computer's under attack, where you have viruses, send us $1 million kind of a screen, one of those, which I always just shut the computer down. So that site that I was using got hacked. And I thought, well, I'll let it come back. But in the meantime, I put it on my iPhone. I've got just a different app that does the same thing. There are many that handle Pomodoro. So this one is a little orange tomato. And the cool thing about Apple products is they work seamlessly one to the other. So I like this one better. It shows up on my phone, on my computer, and on my watch. 25 minutes start, and it's way easier for me to stay focused for 25 minutes and not let anything distract me. And my production's gone way up. So that was that. It was a new habit. I like it better, and it simplified getting stuff done for me.
This is great. That's great.
All right, so we are in February. So let me ask you, what's one gentle shift that you're going to make for this month coming up to make it better than last month?
Well, you go first.
Okay. Just like you, I have a very close friend that has health problems. Like suddenly, half my day at least was there. So my shift is to really keep the Pomodoro thing in, and keep my attention on the goals that I have set up, to say no. I'm not going to say no to my friend, but to say no to other things, and really at all costs protect my energy so that I accomplish what I set out to accomplish. So that's my shifts.
I like that. I like that concept a lot. It really is, it kind of speaks to me. I know the habit that I need to fix is to remove distractions. In an effort, for example, to make sure that I have all my marbles, I allow myself to play word games because I'm a writer and I like words. So I especially like games that involve words. And I do that in the morning and in the evening. And it's a distraction for me. It's quite a pleasure. It gives me a good shot of dopamine to win at a word game.
You know what? Check out Pomodoro.
All
That
right.
allows you to just have your word games in between your chunks of time, your chunks
Excuse
of
me, I don't
focus
like
time.
word game. It's good.
Well, let me ask you, what one thing are you not carrying into this month, Karen? You're going to leave it in January and not carry it forward into February.
Procrastination.
There you go. All right. And for me, it's staying on task. It's
They're
not
kind
getting distracted.
they're kind of alike. Yeah.
They're very much alike. So the point of all of this is, when we're analyzing a month, and we've chit-chatted back and forth a lot about our month, but it doesn't take that long to figure out what worked, what didn't work, what made you feel more energized, what robbed energy from you, what things made you a better person, what are those things you were not proud of that you want to leave behind. And take those lessons forward, because if you've done what we've suggested before, you're going to have a goal for the year. And goals always have course corrections along the way. So take what happened in January, decide what you want to carry forward into February, strengthen that, leave certain things behind. And you will wind up at the end of the year hitting your goals. And with that, we are done with this episode. So thank you
Linda,
very
you're
much.
a really good life coach. You are a life coach. Just without calling yourself that, you're a really good life coach.
Bye, everyone.